Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Accelerate with Google live stream, where we're going to discuss the AI evolution of search. My name is Toluche Akinlabi, and I'm a retail account manager for Sub-Saharan Africa at Google. So to begin, we're going to be discussing the AI evolution of search and how we're trying to solve for endless curiosity. We'll then discuss our solution for this, AI Max for Search. We'll discuss some of the controls and transparency this feature brings. And then we'll finish up with activation and partnership, how you can best use this new feature, and both for human and AI partnership. So let's start with how AI evolution is changing search and how we are trying to solve for the new ways in which humans are searching. AI is giving Google Search brand new superpowers. It's fundamentally changing how search works and how people search for new information and try to match with new brands and services out there. People are searching more naturally, using much more longer, complex queries. They're using features like Circle to Search, Google Lens, image search, voice search. And with all these new ways of searching, it also means they want their information even quicker to answer the more complex questions that they have. We're seeing that AI Overviews has more than 2 billion users in more than 200 countries every month. So it's really bringing generative AI to how people are searching more and more every day. And we're finding that people are more satisfied when they get some of their answers from AI Overviews and from using AI mode. Because people are searching longer, searching more naturally, we have to make sure that we're actually solving their answers in a much more relevant way. What this means for you as a business is that you need to now start to deliver much more personalized interactions to our searchers based on the scale of human curiosity. Consumers get frustrated when they find that the answers that they're looking for are not relevant to how they've searched for it. So what does this mean for you? It means that we need to now allow you as businesses to meet the scale of human curiosity, allowing you to use our AI-powered solutions to meet people where they are based on exactly what they're searching for. And with that, this is where AI Max comes through. AI Max is a suite of campaign features that's going to allow you to deliver better efficiency, better growth, with better relevancy for the way people search nowadays. Specifically, AI Max focuses on capturing the relevance demand at the scale of human curiosity. It looks beyond potentially some of the very specific settings and keywords that you've given your campaigns to allow you to actually meet people that might not have searched for exactly what you have in your campaigns, but rather grow that demand and grow the intent that you're able to meet. There are two main components to AI Max. The first being expanded targeting. What this means is that this specific feature, which is called search term matching, allows you to expand your search targeting through expanding your keywords to broad match, through using keywordless technology, kind of like DSA, and through asset-based targeting. The second component is assets optimization, and we do this through two ways. Through text customization, where we actually change the relevancy of your ad assets to meet the query that someone has searched for, and through final URL expansion, which might actually expand the final URL or landing page that we send users to based on what they've searched for. To give you an idea of what this looks like in the actual ads UI, you'll just go to Search Campaign, look in your settings, and you'll see a feature called AI Max for Search Campaigns, and you'll be able to just toggle on optimize your search campaigns with AI Max. That's as simple as it is. And then from there, you can actually choose whether you want to opt into both text customization and final URL expansion. Even though our best practice recommends you opt into both, we of course want to allow and give you the controls you need to be able to opt out of final URL expansion if, for example, you want to maintain control or opt out of text customization. But of course, you'll get the most use out of this feature if you opt into both. So to kind of delve into what some of these features actually mean, from a search term matching perspective, what we're doing is essentially going beyond the specific queries you have in your campaigns to target other potential customers based on the overall intent and how we as Google understand that intent. It means then, for example, if you had a broad match keyword that just said burgers, for example, if someone searched for something similar to a burger beyond what you have as a keyword in your account, we'll actually match with that based on the information info we have on your landing pages, maybe based on other asset-based information. We'll capture that demand based on the fact that we know that there is intent for the products and services you as a business have. So we are looking beyond just the specific query to match based on a number of different signals to help find you future customers. Then secondly, from an automatically created assets perspective or the text customization, what we'll do is look at your provided headlines and descriptions, and then we'll draw on information we find on your landing pages and then use generative AI in combination with all of this to have better personalization for the actual ads that we serve to your users. So it means we're not just going to use only the static headlines and descriptions you have, but rather we'll use generative AI and other information we find from your website to hyper personalize the search results someone sees so that we improve that ad relevancy and improve that overall performance for your search campaigns. And then the last feature within AI Max is around URL optimization and expanding the final URL. So what we'll also do is we'll actually look beyond the final URL you've set for your ad groups to find the best landing page for each user query. So while you might think that potentially someone wants to land on maybe the overall kind of product category page, we might find that maybe for this specific query, they might be better served if they land on a different page, maybe on a specific product. So we make sure the landing pages that are served are much more relevant to the users based on their query. So to give you an overall example of what this could look like, someone could, for example, search for skincare for dry, sensitive skin. You might not have this as a query. We can't think of every single way in which someone will search. So you might not have this as a keyword in your accounts, but we know that you have moisturizer as a keyword in your accounts, and we'll use search term matching to match skincare for dry skin with moisturizer and serve an ad to a user that might otherwise not have seen this ad because you didn't have this as a query. So now we've served the moisturizer keyword as an ad, and we don't just want to have moisturizer in our headline. We'll now use text customization to actually input some of the words in the query in the ad itself. So as a user, I feel this ad is much more relevant to me. I feel like I'm going to actually get an answer to the question I'm looking for, or maybe find the product I'm looking for through this hyper-personalized ad. And then the final URL, initially maybe the campaign settings would have sent me to just a moisturizer landing page, but final URL expansion finds that there is a specific landing page you have that is the best skincare for dry skin. So we'll send a user there instead. So all of this is done helping you find a new user you likely wouldn't have found based on your existing settings. AI Max has now expanded your base campaign and is allowing you to find new users in this new economy. So overall, we're seeing great results from AI Max from the advertisers who are already using it. We're finding that advertisers who use AI Max in search campaigns will typically see 14% more conversions at a similar CPA or a similar ROAS. And if you are an advertiser who's still mostly using exact match and phrase match keywords, we find that the typical uplift is even higher at almost 30%. So AI Max really is delivering the impact for advertisers who are using it. And don't just take our word for it. We've run a number of case studies, and here we're sharing this example of L'Oréal Paris, who's seen incredible performance from testing AI Max. They saw that AI Max specific keywords that were brought into their accounts brought them 67% more click-through than the other match types. And it also reduced their cost per conversion by 30% and doubled their conversion rate from when they weren't using AI Max. So overall, AI Max has improved their click-through rates and engagement, reduce their costs, and double their conversion rate. So really, really great performance to drive more volume and more business performance for them. So I'm sure some of you might have a few objections around, the controls and the transparency using AI Max might bring to you. So we have a number of features that'll allow you to kind of prove the media value and optimize where needed for the best performance. So there's a number of safeguards and a number of controls. You can use negative keywords lists with AI Max. You can have URL controls where you exclude certain URLs from being included in final URL expansion. You can have brand and location controls, even at ad group level. You can, of course, remove certain assets. So if you find that you don't want to use a specific landing page or specific kind of wording in a headline, you can of course remove that. We're bringing assets exclusion soon, and you can of course provide headlines and descriptions that are used in these ads. And if you really, for any reason, need to use specific wording in your headlines and descriptions, you can use assets pinning. It just means you'll need to turn off final URL expansion. There's also a lot of transparency you can get in your performance. It's not a black box. You'll get a number of reports that show you the incremental benefits that AI Max is bringing to your campaigns. You can look at asset reports, which allows you to actually add additional high-performing assets like headlines and descriptions to your base campaigns. And then you can, of course, remove assets that don't align with your product or your brand. You'll also get landing page reports, which will allow you to optimize your websites. And then you can, of course, add URL exclusions if needed. There's a lot of keyword reports you can look at to see, what keywords are performing well. Maybe keywords you should just add to your campaign so that you're not only relying on AI Max to serve on those keywords. And then you can get search term reports where you might, remove negative keywords that aren't appropriate for your website. So if you have a number of questions, I'll be showing you here specifically where you might find answers to those questions. So if you specifically want to see the performance AI Max is bringing to your search strategy, have a look at the keywords tab in your account. And at the bottom of your list of keywords, you will see the total AI Max expanded searches and the total AI Max landing page matches. So you can actually compare it to the non-AI Max performance, and you'll get the click-through rates, clicks, impressions, etc. of the AI Max incremental keywords and landing pages. If you specifically want to see the queries that are matching using, search term matching and keyword list targeting, just go to the search terms reports under insights and reports, and you'll be able to filter for the source of the keyword, whether it's AI Max or whether it's one you already have, and you'll be able to again see the specific search terms that AI Max is serving on. Again, if you want to review the keyword list targeting specifically, you can filter for search terms and landing pages within the search terms reports to see those landing pages that are targeting the relevant queries that we found. If you want to see specifically which assets were created by text customization, whether they're a headline or a description, you can see that again in the Assets tab, looking at expanded final URL assets. And then if you want to see the URLs that are actually being used in the ads, have a look at the landing pages tab, again, under insights and reports, and you'll see the specific landing pages that are either automatically selected or advertiser selected. And based off of that, you might decide to maybe prioritize certain landing pages for future campaigns based on their performance. And then if you want to manage your URLs with like URL exclusions or inclusions, again, that's something that can be done in the keywords tab, where you can include or exclude specific URLs based on your brand needs. So there, as I've shown there's a number of ways in which you can optimize and control and report on the incrementality that AI Max brings to your campaigns. Now, next, we're going to discuss how you can best use AI Max and how we see the human and AI partnership working, best. So from a best practice perspective, there's a number of specific best practices we recommend that you keep in mind as you're setting up these campaigns and as you report on them going forward. First thing is to make sure your measurements is set up correctly. Make sure your search campaigns are actually aligned to conversion strategies based on your business goals. And also do make sure that you're using our AI-driven conversion features, whether that's enhanced conversions, data-driven attribution, and making sure your campaigns don't have a very long conversion delay. That kind of sets you up for a good baseline from a measurement perspective. The next, in terms of bids and budgets, again, make sure your bid strategy is aligned to your business goals, and make sure the search campaigns aren't limited by budgets before you opt into AI Max. What that means is if your search campaign's already limited by budget, when you add AI Max, which is essentially looking for more ways to drive conversion volumes, it's not really going to be able to find new users because you're very limited by budgets. So do try to make sure your campaigns have enough budgets and that you're using the relevant bid strategy for your business. Thirdly, with regards to the campaign structure and ad groups, make sure you have as simple as possible of a campaign structure that are only segmented by your business goals. So make sure your ad groups don't have duplicate keywords with different match types. Try to consolidate your ad groups to ensure they have at least 30 conversions in a month, and make sure your ad groups are tightly themed. So if you are a fashion retailer, for example, make sure your ad groups are themed according to potentially like products and types of dresses, shoes, and so on. And then lastly, make sure you review your landing page experience and make sure your website is up to date and complies with all Google policies. So make sure you maybe use the landing pages reports to identify low performing landing pages that you might either want to exclude or have as part of an optimization strategy. And also make sure the copy on your website and your landing page CTAs are relevant and will be useful for automatic asset generation. Then when it comes to actually experimenting with AI Max, because we don't expect you to just opt in all of your campaigns to AI Max, you might want to test it first. We have a number of recommendations from an experimentation perspective. So initially, obviously have your hypothesis. So in that we expect AI Max to improve performance, whether that's through clicks or click-through rates or click volume. Have a pre and post kind of structure where, you know, for the next, for example, 4 weeks, we're running AI Max, and then we will compare it to the previous 4 weeks or maybe to the previous year. Choose 1 or 2 campaigns that you want to select, making sure they're not limited by budgets, they have the correct bid strategy, and be mindful of seasonality. So again, if you're a fashion retailer and you're running a promo on all of your shoes, maybe don't use the shoes campaign for AI Max because that's going to be changing because of the maybe added budgets and so on. So use kind of base campaigns that we can run a good A/B test on. And then at the end, make sure that we then look at the past 4 weeks, excluding the learning period AI Max will have gone through. A last few couple of pointers: try not to experiment with campaigns limited by budgets or with newly created campaigns, and make sure that your campaigns aren't using portfolio bidding or shared budgets, and make sure we're not running the test in a period of seasonality. So for retailers, for example, coming up to peak season, make sure maybe we don't test AI Max in the days coming up to Black Friday. Also, you might decide whether or not you want to test this with brand campaigns. A lot of advertisers have quite strict kind of brand campaign budgets and so on. So AI Max might be better served running in a generic campaign. And in terms of the pre-post testing, again, just make sure if we're running this over, let's say, an 8-week period, we know that when we turn on AI Max, we might have 1 to 2 weeks of learning and then a good kind of 4 weeks or so of the experiment actually running. Then after that 6-week period, look back over the 4 weeks to see how AI Max has improved your search performance and evaluate your ROAS, your CPA, your volume versus the periods when you didn't have AI Max running. And so again, from a guideline perspective, you can use this, you can maybe take a screenshot and maybe use this template to understand the performance improvements AI Max has brought to your search campaigns based on your specific KPIs. So from a pre and post testing perspective, do make sure you have a look at this list of recommendations here. And once you're happy with the testing timeline, enable AI Max, make sure you follow our test timeline, and then evaluate the results after the 6-week period. So we can't finish up talking about AI without discussing how we expect humans and AI to partner together in this new future of marketing. What we really see AI Max adding to campaign managers is how it's going to help reduce the time burden of campaign management and also help you with keyword planning and ad copy generation. These are tasks that can be quite tedious. And what we see this workflow changing from and to is that instead of you having to have endless campaign restructures, focusing on optimizing individual keywords and looking at your performance at a keyword level, instead, we see you moving towards more of a future-proof, overall simplified account structure. We see you focusing much more so on enabling keywordless targeting, so you're not trying to think of every single keyword out there. And we see you looking much more so at total performance versus the targets versus specific keyword performance versus your targets. Then instead of you having to review all of your ad copy and RSA for relevancy, instead we see that your ad copy will actually be automated to each user based on their query. And then instead of you trying to engineer relevance with pinning ads. Instead, like we said, your ads will be much more relevantly generated based on the query we see users looking for. And then instead of having a single landing page for every single RSA, again, the landing pages will be much more dynamic to the user query, with, of course, exclusions helping you to make sure they're completely brand safe and aligned with your brand goals. To kind of finish up, we see AI Max really partnering with you to help you enter this new future of AI-powered marketing. As a human, your role is going to be really important to fuel the AI with high quality data so that the AI can help you find new customers and help you better optimize towards your goals. You'll still be in control. You'll be able to optimize, but a lot of the manual work in terms of bid settings and actually just finding the customers can be automated and done in a much more relevant way using AI Max. So thank you very much for your time. I hope that this session has been very helpful for you to understand this new future of marketing and how AI Max can help you better meet this opportunity using AI features. Thank you.